Well, I'm excited about our guest tonight, Trent Cooper, who produced a series of films or episodes, I should say, called Raise the Flags, and it's 50 years of Bucs football. There's going to be an event that is an invitation-only type event at the Tampa Theater tonight that I will be a part of, and they'll preview some segments of that film, and the release and all of that will be given out at a different time. But, he worked so hard on this last 14 months, interviewed at least 100 people, and it is as comprehensive I guess you'd say, sort of a biography, if you will, of the Buccaneers from their inception until present time. So looking forward to my discussion with Trent coming up here in just a minute. Steve, it's been a while since we've been together because of the Labor Day holiday, and what a weekend in college football. My goodness, those games were exciting, sometimes unpredictable, and all I can say is the state of Florida is back in college football, baby.
Well, 4 number one or top 10 teams go down. Of course, 3 had to because there was 3 top 10 matchups.
That's right.
But Florida State put a butt whooping on Alabama.
Whew. Did they ever?
Like, I mean, outside Lee Corso picking that game in his final show on College Game Day.
Lee Corso picked all those games, by the way.
Yes.
Isn't that ironic that if you had the Corso, sort of ledger there, you would have won a lot of money?
Yeah, the parlay, yes.
Parlay,
it was a 16 parlay, and because he had Florida State, it was most people wouldn't have had that one. So, but Florida State looked Castellanos talking all the trash in the offseason, backed it up, buddy.
He did. He absolutely did. He brought some attitude, but he also brought something they didn't get, a couple like a year ago, and that is playmaking.
Yes,
this guy can do it with his feet. He can do it with his arm. He makes good decisions. He makes good decisions with the football. He protects it for the most part, and they were impressive because. And the other thing was, if I'm Alabama, what I would worry about, in addition to the fact that they didn't look like Alabama, is that they got whipped up front where football is won on both sides of the ball. I mean, really, the offensive line dominated Alabama's defense. I think the defensive line was disruptive in their own right, and that's what you want to see. It wasn't a bunch of trick plays or muff punts or mistakes necessarily by Alabama. It was just they whipped them in every way you can whip a football team.
And that's the big problem for Kalen DeBoer and Alabama is that he's got 5-star recruits on both sides of those lines.
That's right.
Like Nick Saban, that team would never look that way with Nick Saban. I mean, they've gotten beat, they've whatever, but with that talent, like they should not get dominated the way Florida State did. And kudos to Mike Norvell, who last year 2-10, and this year comes back and that's their opening game, and just the way they dominated the game is what was even more impressive.
Yeah. No, it really was. And tell you what, Tallahassee was alive. That stadium was rocking, and it felt like old times. We'll see if they can keep it going. I mean, I think, look, the ACC is there for the taking. Clemson lost their opener to LSU, and it was a good showing.
Brian Kelly finally gets a win on opening day.
Gets a win on opening day, which he's not been able to do against a ranked opponent. Miami was dominant in their game.
That defensive line looks really good because Notre Dame's offensive line isn't bad.
No, not bad at all. And they got after him. And they got some receivers, too, by the way, that can catch.
Yes.
Spectacular catches they made in that game. Quarterback looked pretty good. It brought me back to a time when Florida State, Miami, and Florida were all very good. Of course, Florida had sort of their preseason game, if you will, against Long Island, which was one of Todd Bowles' son. His other son, however,
he was at the game. He was at the Florida.
He was at the game, and his son was a captain, I think, for the coin toss, and that's about as good as it got, really, for Long Island, who were handled pretty well. But I asked Todd if he liked the way the Michigan game ended, and of course, if you saw that one, and I know you did, Steve, it was Troy Bowles, I believe.
Yes.
Making the final play, the sack that essentially ended the game. And I said, "What'd you think of that?" He goes, he looked like a young bull that play. Yep. Took him down and made the final play. So at least a 500 weekend for the Bulls. But, yeah, just great. And what was great about it is that, you had games that started on Thursday that we talked about with USF, and then on through the weekend. And even tonight, we got to see the hoodie who started great first time with the ball down the field, zip, 7-0. And then reality kind of checked in, and TCU more or less took over.
Yeah, I don't know if that was much of a game tonight as we're watching this.
It
Last
really
I
wasn't.
saw was 41-7.
Yeah, they got 14 now. They put in
14,
Brad
okay.
Johnson's son to play quarterback, and he took him down for a touchdown, threw to his brother, who's a tight end. Those guys have played for like 3 different teams, I think, and a lot of years in college football. He hurt his knee. I think it was his knee or his leg last year. It was a pretty gruesome injury, but he's come back from that, and he actually replaced the starter. But yeah, tough start for Bill Belichick at North Carolina. And, I don't know if it's his coaching necessarily, but when you bring in 70 new players, Steve, it's tough to get that kind of consolidated in a short off season.
It is, but the amazing thing is that's not the most in college football this year.
That's crazy, right?
Like I know New Mexico, who Michigan played, they said 75 new players.
My God.
And that wasn't the most because they said there was another team that had 80. I don't remember which one it was, but
how you begin
new
to
coaches
do that?
and transfer portals and NIL, and it's crazy anymore.
I mean, it's like literally no one is in the building that was there the year before. But college football was fun. And I'm sorry, we had this discussion with Matt Baker, and look, they could figure out NIL and transfer portals and all that on your free time. I love these big games early. I love them early. I love them often. And I don't need to see many directional schools, having preseason games with college football. I want to see these matchups,
I do too, but it was amazing how much further ahead the defenses were than the offenses.
Yeah.
Whether it's Clemson, LSU, Ohio State, Texas, the offenses did almost nothing that game. Like the defenses were fantastic. It was a well-played football game. Just the defenses were so far ahead of the quarterbacks in the offense, and Arch Manning didn't look good, but I think that was a lot of it was Ohio State's defense.
I think it was Ohio State's defense. I think it was, the first start in that kind of an atmosphere, which, remember, it's one of the toughest places in the country to play. They're defending national champions.
Yep.
And also, I'm sorry, but Steve Sarkisian really didn't have a great game plan for Arch Manning. Like, you need to give the guy some easy throws, you know what I'm saying, to get into some kind of rhythm, before he's third and 9 and trying to hum one in the middle of the field. I didn't like the play calling early on.
I didn't either, but I also think part of it was Ohio State's got a new defensive coordinator this year. It's Matt Patricia with a ton of NFL experience.
Oh yeah,
that defense ran a more complicated scheme than Ohio State has in years, and I think it threw Texas. They had no idea what to prepare for, and it was different than anything Ohio State's done the last few years.
Yeah,
and they were lost. I think. And
he definitely didn't see the field very well. Like
you had
whether they were rotating coverages, post snap, whatever, it was affecting him.
Yeah, I mean, that was they confused Arch Manning, and I don't know if they confused Sarkisian, but you got a young quarterback out there. There's only so much he can do, and you can do for him,
right?
And I just think, I think they figured some stuff out later as the game was 14-0. They were trying to come back into it,
right?
But part of it was I think Ohio State's defense looked better than it has in years. And they had a ton of players drafted last year. Not talent-wise. I just mean scheme-wise.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, when you get the turnovers, you're going to win. And a lot of times that's just it. It's just, guys not knowing what they're supposed to be doing. And they're confused, and you create opportunities. But a lot of people are gripping about, Arch Manning, overrated, da-da-da. How would you say that's a hell of a spot to start your first game against a good opponent? Now,
I think it's his third. I think it's his third start. I think he started twice last year,
but not against anybody nationally ranked, right?
No,
and certainly not against the defending national champions in the horseshoe. Which I'm here to tell you, that atmosphere can destroy the best of teams. How many times did Michigan go in there and lose? So
not the last 2 times.
Well, not the last 2. That's true. But the 5 before that. But no, it's a big challenge. It's a big challenge. I did one game up there 100 years ago, and it was that great Ohio State team that had, I think, Joey Galloway and those guys, probably like around 95 or something like that, I want to say. And they were playing Notre Dame. They hadn't played them in 100 years. And I'm here to tell you, man, that place was I've been to a lot of stadiums. I've been to the Big House, which is incredible, by the way. I loved Ann Arbor. Loved that atmosphere. Saw Florida State play there. and I believe Deion Sanders. It's
Yes.
that era.
I was at that game as well. Number 1
Yeah.
versus number 3.
1 versus 3. It was unbelievable. And those two atmospheres. If you're going to go to Big Ten, I've been to Wisconsin too, but man, those two atmospheres. Like if you're an opponent, good luck, because I'm telling you, man, those people are on top of you, and they do not sit down and they do not stop screaming. It is really fun. That's what college football is about. But just great weekends. I want to see more. I want more big games. I want more big, top 20 matchups. That's what I want to see. And this week, USF, which may have played as well as anyone in the state of Florida last Thursday night, they've got to go now to Gainesville and take on the Gators. And if the Gators aren't ready to play for this defense, look out. DJ Lagway better buckle the shin strap, because this Bulls defense has got some guys that can hit. And and then their quarterback Byron Brown played extremely well. So we'll see if USF can keep it going. They got Miami after that. So these next 2 games are going to say a lot about the Bulls. Meanwhile, just when you were ready to write them off and you think that it's time to call the coroner, the Rays wiggle a big toe. They're alive. They've won 4 in a row now, and they took down the Seattle Mariners, who are a pretty good baseball team. That's came in like, I don't know, 8 or 9 games over 500.
Yep.
Really
the Rays
good.
Got swept in Seattle just a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, whatever.
That's right, they did, and really nice bounce back performance by Shane Baz.
It was, and you're like to see right now the Rays team's hitting home runs.
Yep.
Brendan Lau grand slam over the weekend.
Yeah,
he's got 5.
Josh
in his
Lowe
career now.
hit 2 home runs in 1 game the other day.
Yep. The bullpen has been very good. What they say in the pregame show going into tonight, 24 of the last 25 inherited runners have not scored.
Right.
1 home run over the last however many games it was that the bullpen's given up. Now, granted, that one was Pete Fairbanks give up a tie, and then they lost that game in extra innings. But the Rays are now just 4.5 out of the wild card. If they sweep Seattle, who's right now the 3rd wild card, at worst case they'd be 3 games out.
Wow.
By Wednesday night.
And they got about 23 games.
I think after that, yeah. Yep. But 3 games out. Now, and then you're playing Cleveland this weekend, who's a team that's ahead of you.
That's also above them. Yeah.
They're not in the wild card spot, but they are ahead of you. So you can, you take 3 or 4 there, you pass them.
Yeah.
Look, it's still a longer shot because there's 3 teams ahead of them before they get to Seattle.
Right.
But if you win the next 2, you're 3 games, either 2.5 or 3 out of the wild card.
Incredible.
With 3.5 weeks to go. That's not impossible at all.
Nope.
Now you drop the next 2 and it's, sayonara, but.
Well, I'm not going to say that they're going to do it, but mathematically, when you get on these rolls and they've won 4 in a row now?
Yes.
I think. You just don't know how long that hot streak's going to last, but you can get a feeling, and the way they're swinging the bats, the offense is back alive. Caminaro's still hitting. Lau, as you mentioned, you get Josh Lowe going a little bit, and the one thing that they've been able to do in these last few games is get out to a lead. They've scored early and often. They've had big innings, crooked numbers.
I think they're like 49-12 or so. They said it on the pregame show again tonight on TV, and I don't remember the exact number.
Score first?
When they score first now,
Yeah, that's always a good stat, but for the Rays, it's especially good.
Yep.
They kind of feed off of that early on in the game. So
an interesting move. Hassan Kim on waivers, and the Atlanta Braves have claimed him.
Yeah, that I tell you, that was a surprise. I was at One Buck Place when that came across, and I was sitting next to John Romano. Here's what I think, as Peter King might say, because Eric Neander sounded like a guy not long ago that wanted to see what Hassan Kim could still do, was essentially, I don't say he committed to him for next year, because it's Kim's option, or was going to be Kim's option as to whether he was going to be back here or not. But he didn't say, the people that have spoken to him didn't think that Neander sounded down on him whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just guessing this, and look, they have a future shortstop, right? That he's going to be up here sooner than later. He's up here now, but he's going to be up here sooner than later. He's going to be their shortstop of the future. But more than that, don't forget, this team is being sold. right? And if you're buying whatever entity you're buying, you buy their assets and their liabilities, right? And if Kim, which I imagine he would have exercised his options to stay because he had a $15 million coming his way if he did choose to stay here, given the injury plague season that he just had. Well, I mean, look, you're saving the new owners, a commitment of $15 million to a player that may not give you anything anyway. And I think in a way, and I don't know what, I don't exactly know how this went down or if it was just purely a baseball decision or what. And you could certainly make a good case for that based on how many he only played like 28 games
Yep.
or something like that.
24.
24. So you can make a case for the fact that, well, we only got 24 games. We're not going to do this again, are we? And the Sternberg group can make that decision on their own. But if you add it to the fact that a new ownership group, which is paying way above what seems to be market value for this franchise, would then potentially inherit a player that they're going to owe $15 million to that hasn't produced, I think is a good time to get rid of him.
Yeah, and I also think there's a few other factors in this. I think saving $2 million this year.
Yeah, sure.
You probably don't think you're going to make the playoffs. Maybe you will.
Right.
But I think it also says they like what they've seen out of Carson Williams.
Absolutely.
And that he's going to be the starting shortstop next year, and Taylor Wall's your backup. But what this really says is that Brendan Lau is back next year. You're keeping Lau over
I agree.
Kim.
I agree.
And Lau's cheaper, and he's been more reliable and productive. And Hassan Kim, if he's healthy, he might have a fantastic season next year, whether it's with the Braves or someone else.
Right.
The Braves have a month to kind of figure it out. Because what's really surprising is that the Rays usually keep those players and then trade them and get something in return. They get nothing in return outside of $2 million salary relief this year and not the $16 million contract next year.
Right.
But I really think Brendan Lau's got a friendly option next year. And so to me, this means your infield next year is Caminero, Williams, Lau, and then Aranda. That's your round your horn next year.
Sounds pretty good, man. You got some offense on that
Yandy Diaz probably your DH still. Still got to figure out who the outfielders are, but then you'd like to see some more production from your catchers, who you think you have your catchers of the future, but offensively they have not been very good since Fiducia and Fortes have been acquired.
Right.
But maybe going into a full season next year, not having to learn the pitching staff like you do when you're brought in mid-season and stuff, you can just maybe focus a little more, and that'll be a little different next year. So
yeah. No, I agree with all that, and listen, like they're not writing off what's left of this season either, and that's the thing. Like with baseball, man, you just can't explain it sometimes. They were in a deep, dark place, and 4 in a row doesn't give you a pennant or anything, and they've got so much work to do and teams to jump over. But if you can continue on this streak and win, I don't know, 10 out of 12 or 12 out of 15, something like that, you might find yourself in a wild card spot. And then, listen. Stranger things have happened. I mean, I remember the year that the Arizona Diamondbacks were the last team to get into the postseason, and they went to the World Series. So it happens. You just got to find your way into October. Meanwhile, we are oh so close to the start of hockey season too, right?
That is correct. The ice went down at Benchmark International Arena on Monday. So working on Labor Day to put the ice down. Training camp starts in about just over 2 weeks. First preseason game is less than 3 weeks away. Hockey is here.
Hockey is
the off season is over.
Yeah, no, it was a long off season, longer than some.
Longer than you'd like it to be. Yes, I mean the last game was April 30th. So
exactly. But yeah, I think this is the best time of year. We're approaching, to me, the best time. Well, first of all, if we can get under 90 degrees, that would be a good start.
It's been under 90 degrees for several days now.
Yeah, I know. But
I mean, not the feels like, but.
Yeah, the feels like is the humidity probably needs to drop a little bit below 90%. But yeah, it's the best time of the year is when you got all the sports going. Playoff baseball, start of the NFL season, which of course is this Sunday or Thursday night, actually, with Dallas and Philadelphia. And then, if you can... if you can get to that point, you've got all of them working together. It's gonna be glorious. And college football, something about college football says fall to me. You know what I mean? Like the NFL is going to be amazing, and we're all looking forward to Sunday. And everybody thinks they know what their team's going to do, but they really don't know. And we'll have a better idea. Just remember this though: Week 1 is a liar. Like, just remember that Week 1 is a liar. It always has been. It always will be. There will be a team that will get blammoed in Week 1, or a team that just looks like they're unbeatable, and they're not. And things will change. The best example of that was I can remember after the Bucks had beaten Philadelphia, went on, won the Super Bowl. They started their season the next year in Philly on a Monday night game. So that Sunday we're watching all games. So this would have been the 2003 season now, and New England was playing at Buffalo, and they got destroyed. New England got destroyed, and Tom Brady only lost 3 games to Buffalo. This was one of them. And I'm telling you, they looked like they couldn't get out of their own way. I think that year they went 14-2. Patriots did, not the Bills.
Yep.
So week one is a liar, so be very careful. But we'll get into Atlanta Falcons and Michael Penix and all the things that are coming up this week. And I want to tell you also a little bit about a book that we're writing as we get done with our interview with Trent Cooper coming up in just a minute. But first, hey, get on down to Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. I was there the other day, Steve. I went right to Breitling Boutique. You know what I did? I looked into the window, and I saw the NFL team watches, and there, a Chronomat watch with the Buccaneers team watch. It had the red face on the watch, the Chronomat watch, the Buccaneers logo. I think they had the Dolphins there as well. And I want to say the Philadelphia Eagles was another one that was being displayed. All 32 teams, team watches while supplies last. It's Breitling Boutique. That's where you're going to find the best Swiss watches. They've been in business for 140 years. They've been at Breitling Boutique for more than 5 years. And they also have watches for your wife, your girlfriend. These are sports watches. They are durable. They're terrific looking, and she can pick from an array of different colored wristbands. Go see our friends at Breitling Boutique. Spend some time there. It's the second floor of International Plaza Mall. And make sure when you go, you let them know you heard about it on Sports Day Tampa Bay. Okay, this is a special treat for me. Trent Cooper, who is an Emmy Award-winning producer, and you've watched his work for years on ESPN 360. Well, the past 14 months, he has been working on a big project, and it is Raise the Flags. It commemorates the 50 years of Buccaneer football, and he joins us here tonight. Trent, first of all, congratulations on what is still, I know, an ongoing process with this project. I had the privilege of sitting with you for about 6 hours of these interviews, and
Yes.
I know this is an incredibly comprehensive endeavor here, but man, you're almost to the end of it, and just, they're going to have a presentation, kind of I wouldn't call it a preview necessarily, but kind of a panel interactive discussion, for folks at the Tampa Theater later this evening, and you'll be a part of that program, and we'll get to the players that'll be there and such. But just your initial thoughts about what, when you were approached by the Glazers, what the undertaking this was, and just sort of the amount of time and effort that you put into this.
Oh my God! Well, first of all, you said we're not we're not finished yet, which we're not.
Right.
But I really don't want it to end. It's been the most fun I've ever had making a film. It's just
wow.
It's just been awesome. I've loved every second of it. It's been really tough at times and challenging, but are you kidding me? I'm a lifelong Bucs fan. I basically, listen, when I was a kid, I loved 2 things, right? I loved Buccaneer football and movies. And so, to get to do this project, now I'm a little older than that, and I can say I love my family. So I love 3 things, but my God, to get to do this project, what a cool thing. And I've loved every second of it.
And just roughly, because I know, I don't know what the number went up to or what it's up to at this point, but it's something like more than 60, I don't know, 70 different people you've interviewed at one time or another for this project?
We interviewed over 100.
Wow.
And, many of them are just absolute legends. So you're talking about, you sort of a who's who of not only Buccaneer football, but of NFL football. Because you think about the people that have come through this franchise and have sort of made their bones here in Tampa and then gone on to do amazing things that sort of helped define this league. Man, what a launching pad for so many people. And what I'm really excited about is, you've got, our audience can be anyone from somebody who's, in their, 10, 11, 14 years old, just falling in love with this team the way we all did, or somebody who's been following it for most of those 50 years. And it's going to work for either audience, because you're either going back and remembering and sort of finding the story behind the story of some of these iconic Buccaneer moments, or you love this team, you fell in love with them because of Baker Mayfield, and you want to learn the history, and it's all there for you. And you might be seeing these stories for the very first time and had no idea that they went 0-26 and what it took to win that first game, and the celebration that was waiting for them when they came home that night from New Orleans. I don't know if it was 7,000 people or 20,000 people. I've heard all sorts of different numbers, but the fact that people partied through the night in 1977 when they finally won their first game, and they had waited and suffered that long, and to learn that story for the first time, if you're just becoming a fan of this team, is super cool. So I think there's something for everybody in this thing.
There is, and going back to those days, and Doug Williams will be part of this panel discussion. I know you had a chance to talk to Doug extensively. What struck me, because I was young and I remember this team, I remember the Bucs arriving and all of that. But what struck me is just from 0-26, which dragged into the 1977 season, how quickly by 1979 season they're in the NFC Championship game, and Doug Williams and Jimmy Giles and guys like that I know you spoke with turned this thing around so incredibly quickly. It was unbelievable.
Listen, I was a kid and pretending to be Doug Williams in the backyard when I was playing backyard football. So he was the first ever jersey I owned. It was a Doug Williams jersey. So believe me, to be able to sit in front of him and ask every question I ever wanted to ask him was pretty awesome. But what struck me, honestly, is as gracious as he is, and he's so cool. I mean, they always say, like, be careful about meeting your heroes and stuff. Like, this guy delivers. He is just a phenomenal dude.
Yeah.
But what strikes me is how many people besides me thought of him as their hero, and how many different lives he touched that throughout the organization. One big surprise for me, I don't know if this is a surprise for you. You may know this. I didn't know this. I was interviewing Todd Bowles.
Right.
And we didn't get to Todd until after the season, I think. Yeah, after last season, because, obviously he's busy and we didn't want to bother him. Every minute of his life is accounted for during football season. Wait till the end of the season, we're talking to him. He was very relaxed, and we're having this great interview. And he says to me, I'm very familiar with his backstory with Bruce Arians, because I think I did the Bruce Arians documentary for NFL Network 7 or 8 years ago. So I got very close to Bruce and his family. I understood the Temple connection. I understood what Todd meant to Bruce and what they mean to each other and how they've influenced each other. Super familiar with that story. Had no idea that Todd will tell you that he owes his entire, the reason he's a coach is because of Doug Williams. I'm like, what is he talking about? And I very quickly realized that him and Doug were teammates in Washington.
For the Redskins, yeah.
And not only were they teammates, they were really close friends. They lived like a block from each other. They saw each other all the time. They had this great connection. And after their playing careers ended, they were both scouts. So Doug was scouting for one team. I think Todd might have been scouting for the Packers. And Doug gets his first head coaching job at Morehead State. And he picks up the phone and he calls Todd. And he says, I'd like you to be my defensive coordinator. Todd's like, I've never been a coach at any level. I was a player and I'm a scout. I was like, you sure you want me to be the defensive coordinator? I don't have any experience. And Doug says, yeah, I remember going against you in practice every day. And I know how you think. I know how smart you are. I know you're going to be an amazing coach. You just need to do it. And he was very hesitant. And Doug just pushed him into it, and he did it, and he loved it. and then he followed Doug to Grambling. I had no idea. I mean, did you know this?
I had heard about it, but very recently.
So
I was unaware that he started with him at Moorhead. I remember him Grambling briefly.
So he follows him to Grambling, and obviously Todd becomes Todd, and Doug is so proud of him. Like, just to hear Doug talk about their friendship and how proud he is, and of course when the Bucs won their Super Bowl, and Todd's defense was such a huge part of that, and everyone was so blown away by what Coach Bowles did that night. That one of the first texts he gets is from Doug Williams, and it's
That's
really
crazy.
It's cool. And then sorry, we're on a Doug tangent here, but also, John Gruden, we all know many of us know that John's father was a running backs coach and a personnel guy in Tampa when John was in college. And,
right.
And, some of the formative years of his life, he would come home from college and on breaks, and John Gruden would go down to one Buccaneer place, not only to see his dad, but he would work out. He wanted to work out around the guys and the players, and his idol was Doug Williams. And Doug that was Doug's last year in Tampa, and John would throw, he would throw passes to the tight. He'd throw to Jimmy Giles. He'd throw to the running backs. He'd throw to James Wilder, and Doug Williams would joke with him and bust his balls a little bit. And you're going to hear a little bit of that in this screening tonight. And just the way John Gruden revered Doug Williams and still does is so cool. And so just to kind of see that through line, throughout our history, through some of our great coaches, really cool for me to see that.
Yeah, and in fact, after Doug Williams left here, if you remember, there was a contract dispute. He had lost his wife to cancer. He goes to the USFL. And of course, then that begins a series of trying to find a quarterback for the Bucs, which seemed eternal. But there was what many fans locally called the curse of Doug Williams, because they didn't win for many, many years after that. And in fact, it was John Gruden and Bruce Allen that brought Doug Williams back to this organization when John became head coach.
Yeah, listen, I love digging into that, because the curse, the Doug Williams curse, is something that me and my friends would always talk about. And it's funny because when I interviewed guys like you and Ira and some of the other sort of media guys that I've listened to for years, I asked everybody has a little slightly different take on the curse. It's not quite the curse of the Bambino where it's cut and dry, and they sent Babe Ruth to New York and this happened for this many years. Some people think it's a quarterback thing. Some people, then there's all this debate of when did the curse end.
Right.
But I told you before we did this podcast that there were certain things that I would not reveal because I'm saving them. There's some great Doug Williams curse stuff in this doc that you guys are going to love. I love it. And I feel like, it kind of gets me back to why we did it, who the audience is. Some of my staff or some of the editors that have worked so hard on this, we say it's like a love letter to the fans. If you love this team, you're gonna this is red meat for you. You're gonna dig into this and have so much fun with it. So sort of tracing some of that history, and listen, a lot of it's not pleasant history to remember. We've had some very dark times in this franchise. And I think that's why the story's so good, because the lows are so low,
right,
and the highs are so high.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the definition of story. And those turning points, when did the tides turn, and what was the key decision? If this didn't happen and that didn't happen, would we have ever had this? And going on that positive ride when you've been so low for so long, and all of a sudden, along comes Tony Dungy, and he's got this very. You did a great job in your interview, by the way. I just want to thank you. You gave us 6 hours, and I could have used 5.5 of it. It's just such good. But I remember this was one of your lines that you talked about Tony's demeanor, right?
Right.
And when you think about Tony being a pioneer for black head coaches back. When he got that job, there weren't that many. There still aren't that many, but there really weren't.
It might have been Upshaw or Ray Rhodes or one of those other guys.
Yeah, just a couple guys and Denny Green, who he worked for,
right,
and obviously Art Shell and some of the other guys that came before him. But man, it was super early in that story. It's still, there's still a long way to go in terms of equality and as it relates to head coaches. But Tony gets this job, and he had been passed over. Didn't you tell us 6 or 7 times?
8 times, I believe.
8 times. Yeah. And you certainly a part of that must be race, because that's where we were in society back then. And yeah, of course it's race. But then there's this other thing, and that's his demeanor.
Yep.
And Tony will say, I think it might have been more the demeanor than race. People, he was so gentle.
Right.
And he didn't cuss.
Right.
He's not a yeller. He doesn't belittle people. I wouldn't go all the way to kill him with kindness, because he's firm. He's totally firm. But it was his way, and it was his style. And in addition to that, he demanded that they were more than just football players. He demanded that they get involved in their community, that they care about people, that they go beyond this game and make a difference in this world. Now, certain point, you just got to win football games.
That's right.
You can demand that we're good guys till you're blue in the face, and if we don't win football games, you're getting fired. Mm-hmm. And here comes Tony Dungy with this gentle demeanor and demanding that people be good, be of high character, and make a difference in the world. And he goes 0-5, and he won a game, and very quickly he's 1-8. And we were all calling for his head. We didn't. We didn't give a damn about being good in the community. We wanted to win football games. And then, but who who saw what was happening was the Glazers. They knew that he was making a difference. They knew it was going to take a minute. It was going to take time. They were going to give him the time he needed to turn things around. And his players believed in him. His owners believed in him, and the fans were losing their minds because we had lost so much before him. We're still losing. What's going on? And then all of a sudden, San Diego Charger game, and it all turns around. And then that begins, as you like to say, what we call Camelot. Yeah, and it's really fun to go on that ride in this doc series. I think there's a little bit of an edge to this that you may not be expecting. There's a real rawness and authenticity to it. People let their guards down. They tell stories you wouldn't think they'd tell.
Fantastic.
I have to warn you, there's quite a bit of profanity in it. Tony wouldn't like that. I got to warn him. How much profanity is in this thing. But yeah, it's been fun to kind of. I would ask people when I would sit down with them, I would say, hey, I want this to feel like a really good podcast where you're just sitting there telling stories. And I remember you just see people's shoulders change. Their posture would change. They'd be like, oh, he just wants me to tell stories. Yeah. And all of a sudden, and I say, hey, unfiltered, just let it fly. We're going to talk for a couple of hours here, and we're just going to use a little piece of it. And before you know it, man, it's like me and you talking, and I'm really impressed by the level of commitment that all the people put towards this. I mean, it's easy for me to be committed. It's my project. But like when you sit down, I'm not used to getting this much time with people.
Right.
And I'm telling you, man, John Gruden, 4 or 5 hours, Tony Dungy, 4 or 5 hours, the Glazers, 2 days each.
Incredible.
I mean, these are incredibly in-depth interviews that we had to go mine. That's why we're not done yet. We had to mine 190 hours of interviews and whittle it down to this series. And it's been awesome.
Yeah, I mean that time, I talked to Tony not long ago, and one thing he told me, which just kind of struck me when we talk about Camelot and all that. You think about a guy that became the first African American head coach to win a Super Bowl, obviously with the Colts, after he left here. But he told me that in 19 '97, the first year that they actually won. They started, I think, 4 or 5-0. They were on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Yeah.
Ended up winning a playoff game against Detroit at home, and that was the first winning season that they had in many years, and certainly the first time they had been to the playoffs in quite some time. But he said to me that was his favorite year in football.
Yeah.
Which
I've heard
surprised
that.
me a little
Yeah.
bit when you think about what he accomplished in his coaching career with Peyton Manning and the Colts and all of that.
Yeah.
But he said his favorite year was '97 when they won for the first time and they had turned it around, that there was nothing like that feeling.
Yeah. And it's not just his favorite. You feel it in everyone you talk to. Like it was going on that ride for the first time, whether you are Mike Allstott and Work Done or
Paul Gruber,
Sapp, Brooks and Lynch, or Gruber or Hardy or any of those guys, Rondé, going on it for the first time as players, as young men. They're in their mid-20s. They're all kind of coming alive at the same time. But it was us too, man. We were going on that ride also.
Absolutely.
How fun was it to be a fan?
Yeah.
And to see it, wait a minute, we're actually good now. I mean, you think about that 49er game, that iconic 49er game, which, they got the new uniforms for the first time. And, they knocked Steve Young and Jerry Rice out of the game. And it was such a statement game, but it just ushered in a whole new era. And we weren't the laughing stock of the league anymore. We were feared. We had an energy. We had an attitude, an edge. They had such an edge about them in that moment. Cover of Sports Illustrated. But listen, you're on the cover of Sports Illustrated 5-0, but you were also on the cover of Sports Illustrated for being 5-0 in 1979. So one of the things this project does is it picks up on those parallels and some of those themes and how those teams are built. And you start to see a lot of common threads. They had Mark Cotney. We had John Lynch. They had
defense. Yeah.
They had Batman Wood. We had Derek.
Leroy Selman.
They had Selman. We had Sapp. They had Ricky Bell. We had Dunn and Allstott.
Sure.
So they had Doug. So it's cool. You can see those parallels. You can see that these were both teams that were built from the inside out, from the ground up. They were built around defense. They were built around young players that had high character, that fed off each other, that were great teammates. And in both cases, it took time, and you had to be patient. I mean, they were 0-26. Like, they had to be really patient. You know what I mean? And we had suffered for a long time. But once that corner turned, it was just, they were off to the races. And it's cool.
Well, the Glazer family was certainly patient, and Tony Dungy went to the playoffs, I think, 4 times in 6 years, but the seasons kept dying in Philadelphia without scoring a touchdown. And they made a decision that really wasn't that popular at the time to fire Dungy, who was beloved, and they did it under the belief that maybe that Bill Parcells was going to be their next coach. That didn't happen, and that led to what was, dare we say, a very risky, expensive trade of 2 number 1 picks, 2 number 2 picks, and $8 million, which Al Davis wanted Warren Sapp. It turned into $8 million. And they get a guy named John Gruden, who, the parallels between 79 and up to that point were defense, but he had to bring the offensive piece for them to get over the top.
Yeah, and, I think for those of us who were following it closely back then, you will remember the tipping point of all of it was the Tuck Rule game, right? So we're all kind of watching the playoffs, and here's this young, exciting head coach John Gruden. He's got the Raiders humming, and they're going to play the Patriots, and it's in Foxborough, and it's snowing,
like hell.
Thinking to yourself, well, we didn't get Parcells, we didn't get a couple other guys. They thought maybe they get Spurrier, or maybe they get Johnson. We didn't get any of these guys, and we let go of Tony, who we all loved. And at this point, you're kind of like, we shouldn't have let go of Tony. I mean, we should, right? Yeah. I mean, but is there some scenario where Gruden loses tonight and maybe he's on the table, because the rumors were that he and Al Davis were really wrestling over contract stuff, and there was trouble in paradise, and I don't know, maybe there's a chance, but like, he was the hottest, coolest coaching candidate out there, but he wasn't available. Like, who I'm trying to think, who would it be like today? It would be like, maybe like the guy in Detroit, somebody who's just really turned things around, and he's so excited.
Dan Campbell, or
you know what I mean? Like, really, Dan Campbell's available? Like, I thought he just so watching the Raiders Patriots, we call it the Tuck Rule game, because it eventually was the big sack, the Woodson sack of Brady, which caused the fumble, and it should have iced the game for the Raiders. It should have been game over, Raiders going to the AFC Championship, and Raiders probably cruising through to the Super Bowl, and the Bucs would have never gotten John Gruden, because there's no way he's leaving. Al Davis is letting him out of the building if he just won a Super Bowl. So there's one person watching this game closer than any of us, and that's Joel Glazer. And he talks about the sweat wringing from his hands every single play, wanting so badly for the Raiders to lose so he could, they could make their move for John Gruden. And I remember thinking, I remember calling my brother going, if the Raiders lose tonight, maybe, just maybe. So I'm wondering, like, how many other fans were tracking that, because I was totally tracking it. However old I was at that point, I was tracking it too. But Joel Glazer was living and dying on every play. And I have to tell you, the greatest, I don't know, I can't say it's a surprise, because I've known the Glazers a little bit through the years, and I'm super fond of them. But it was super cool for me to see how they live and die on every play the same way we do. Like, I couldn't believe that they're just as big of fans as we are. And the way they talk to each other, oh my God, what if, it's the same way I talk to my brother. And it's the same way, us fans sit around and talk at the water cooler. They're the same way. And so when they relive this stuff, it feels just like us reliving it as fans. And it's just, I don't know why you just don't expect your owners to love it as much as you do for some reason. They're fans first.
Right.
And there's also like some part of that is their age, right? So they came into this.
They were in their 30s, I think.
Yeah.
20s and 30s, yeah.
20s and 30s. And their father, who I'm very fond of, he never discriminated against anyone for their color of their skin, their gender, any of those things. But the other thing he didn't discriminate against was age. He felt like, I don't care how old you are. If you can do it, you can do it. And I'm going to hold you accountable, and you have to be able to do it. But if you can do it, you can do it. And so he basically, challenged his sons and his daughter to run this team. And they didn't matter what their age was, and they stepped up, and they were taking their swings at a very young age. And one of the things you'll see in this piece is how masterful their negotiation was with Al Davis for John Gruden. It all happened in the middle of the night. I never knew the story.
Yeah.
I heard it firsthand. We filmed it really well. We cut it really well. It's literally my favorite part of the whole series.
And correct me if I'm wrong, is because I wrote about this at the time, and maybe history has a different author.
Yeah.
But I believe that they had either offered or were close to offering, or had very close discussions with Steve Mariucci to come as coach GM, and then made the deal for John Gruden while he was still wrestling with that decision.
I got to say, this is one of those things I don't want to give away. Okay. Because part of the beauty of this project is
you get truth.
You're uncovering things we didn't know.
Right.
And if I tell you everything we didn't know on the Rick Stroud podcast, is this the number one podcast in the Bay Area? I think it is.
It's number one in the state for sports, but
number one in the state for sports, and a part of the reason is you've had Trent Cooper on the podcast now five times over the years.
That's exactly why.
Totally kidding. But I can't give that away. But I just suffice to say, like, there is things that were going on in that negotiation that were masterful. And to think that these guys were in their 30s and Al Davis.
They pulled that off, yeah.
Come on, man. Al Davis is the GOAT, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you think of him coming from the AFL, and he's out like how many personnel decisions has he engineered, and great drafts and great trades, and he got schooled by Joel and Brian Glazer. Absolutely schooled. And it's fascinating how this went down.
To the point that John Gruden and the Buccaneers show up in Super Bowl 37 against the Raiders, and they absolutely destroy them.
Totally.
But before that, and I'm guessing we've all seen it a million times, but the turning of everything, sort of the lifting of the cloud, if you will, was the Philadelphia game. And there's so many. I imagine you uncovered a lot of stories and tales about that whole thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we try to do in this project, you got to play the hits, right? You can't.
Sure.
It's like you're going to the Billy Joel concert. I don't want to hear all of his.
I want to hear
music.
Piano Man.
I want to hear Piano Man. So of course, the Ronde Barber interception you're going to do. Now, what I challenge my collaborators to do is we have to present this in a way that's never been presented before.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And I want you to feel like you're getting something new and something fresh. And I want you to, and part of it, and this is Ed. I have to give Ed Glazer credit for this. He always challenged me. By the way, he was in it with me minute to minute. Like he was in the weeds with me for 14 months. Like you think that they just like hired a guy and they're going to show up at a premiere and watch it. Nope. I mean, this was his passion project. And it's obviously my passion project. It's our passion project. But he put an enormous amount of time into this. And we talk about so try to imagine an NFL owner doing this, right? You've got 190 hours of interviews. He's watched all of them at least twice.
Goodness.
He knows every transcript inside and out. So when we're sitting looking at an edit and we're trying to say, what if we do this? What if we do that? He knows exactly what we have. It's not, he wasn't in the room with me, but he's watched the interviews, which is another cool thing is he didn't like look over my shoulder and breathe down my neck. And he let me be me. Wow. And that's really cool. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes people get in your, they get in your grill a little too much, and he didn't. He gave me a ton of space. He always says to me, what are your thoughts first? I want to hear your thoughts first. And then I give him what I think, and then he tells me. So it's been a really cool back and forth with him. But one of the challenges he gave me was, he goes, hey, I don't want to see the same shots that I've been seeing of the same plays, because there's been a lot of stuff done, right? There's Football Life, there's America's Game, there's this, that,
Ronde Barber's film,
Yeah. So what are you going to do that's different? And there's some cool stuff we did. We have access to all of NFL Films' stuff, and NFL Films is gorgeous, and it's back then it was actually shot on film, and it's cinematic, and it's slow motion, and it's Steve Sable. But then you get something called the broadcast feeds. So this is what Fox or whoever did. But what we got is the raw broadcast clips that you haven't seen, right? So this is like the sloppy zooms and the stuff they cut out when they're sitting in the truck and they're switching from camera 4 to camera 7 or whatever. They make it nice and clean and pretty, and it's a TV broadcast. But there's a lot of other stuff they didn't use. And that's where we started to dig and find some gold. And there's a couple of sequences where, and one of them is that Philly game, where the way it's edited, and we had 6 or 7 editors on this, but the one guy that cut this one scene, I remember when he turned it into me, I was like, man, I've been working in football for a long time. I've never seen a scene like this. I'm literally having a heart attack watching this. I feel like I'm watching an episode of The Bear where, like, I don't know if you watch The Bear. It's so intense. I'm like, I can't even breathe. I'm like the intensity, and a lot of it is because of that footage that we haven't seen before, and it's messy and sloppy, and the way it's cut together is just so intense. And there's a lot of sound design, just cool stuff.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. There's a little bit more I want to talk to you about before we let you go. This is terrific stuff. Trent Cooper has been part of this project, Raise the Flags. By the way, where does that name come from?
All right. So again, lifelong Bucs fan. Thought I knew everything. Realized very quickly I don't know. I don't know much. So apparently, the Glazers are doing the rebrand. This is 1996, and they've decided we're gonna rebrand this team. We're the creamsicles.
Mm-hmm.
Creamsicle uniform and Bucco Bruce and the Winking Pirate and all that stuff.
I was there.
Yeah, it's got to go.
Does this have to do with the HMS Bounty by any chance?
I don't know. I'm not sure. All right, so
All right,
I'll tell you what I know.
Yep.
So, the question was, do we want evolution or revolution? Do we just want to evolve Bucco Bruce and kind of update Bucco Bruce, or do we want to completely start over and have a revolution? So they decide time for revolution. Wow. So the league, the NFL, they help you with this. They bring all their designers and they present you with all their ideas, and it takes months and months and months to get through all their, all the rounds of presentation. But at one point, they brought a book, and they said, "Hey, we've been doing a lot of research on pirates and the culture of being a pirate, and there's this thing that happens when they go into battle. They always launch that flag or hoist that flag, and it symbolizes we're coming for you. Like we're going to battle, like it's on, right? Okay. We're going to war. It's on. When that flag goes up, we're coming." And so the minute they heard that, Brian Glazer said that was the aha moment. We were like, that flag is going to be our brand. We love that flag. I love it. So that's why that logo is on the side of the helmet.
Yeah. And
when you think about what raising the flag symbolizes, it's a rally cry, it's a battle cry, whatever. Yeah. And you can almost look at like the community coming together, people coming together, team coming together. The moment those flags go up, it's on. So when I heard that story, I think that was like, I think we have a title. And I know they use it a lot in their marketing material. I just never knew what it meant. Yeah. I never knew what it meant. So,
until now, I didn't know exactly what that was, but yeah, it makes sense. The battle sort of cry, if you will, and then they what they do before each game, before the cannons are fired off, is they raise the flags in the end zone with the pirate ship. So
same kind of thing.
I wanted to ask you, just sort of. Well, their ability and good fortune, I suppose, to lure Tom Brady to this franchise at a time when they went through the 5 years of Jameis Winston, who came oh so close to staying here, as it turns out. But during COVID, I mean, we all kind of lived that, but like, what did you learn, or without giving away the contents of the film necessarily, but like, was that as unlikely a pairing as everybody seemed to think it was at the time, or those, Brady obviously was looking to move on and really did study the Bucs, and if they didn't have a team that was built a certain way, he probably doesn't come here. He was looking at other places. Like, but talk about serendipitous, right? He comes here and they win a Super Bowl the first year.
Yeah. Well, listen, one of the things I was not prepared for is what a great storyteller Jason Light is. Mm-hmm. So I'd never met him. I guess I hadn't heard him interviewed much.
Right.
I knew he was doing a hell of a job. And I knew Bruce loved him because, I told you I'd worked a lot with Bruce, and he told me, you're going to love this guy. And when I was getting ready for the interview, I remember I texted Bruce. I said, "Hey, I'm going to go sit down with your boy, Jason." He said, "You're going to love him." And I did. I could have talked to him for a month. Like, his stories are so good. And so we get to really hear a lot of the Brady acquisition drama through his lens. And it's funny, it's cunning, there's strategy, there's fear, there's hope, there's cockiness, there's all of these. It's kind of got it all.
Operation Shoeless Joe Jackson.
Operation Shoeless Joe. I didn't know if you knew about that. I was going to say I can't talk about it, but it's they had a code word.
Yeah.
They didn't want anybody to know that they were going after the GOAT. So around the office, it was Operation Shoeless Joe. Now, Jason Spytek,
John Spytek.
John Spytek, had already left the team for the Raiders when I was getting around to doing this piece of it. But I ended up getting an interview with him at the owners' meeting. I was so glad. I was so glad this happened. And I'd never met him. And man, what a great dude. So now we have Spytek side of it. We have Jason Light's side of it, obviously BA's side of it. And I told you, we interviewed 100 people. Do you know who the 100th interview was? Tom Brady.
I'm going to guess it was Tom Brady.
Thomas Patrick. What is the? He's got like 15 names.
He's a hard get. I'm not surprised.
Hard get, and he did not disappoint. And we could have used every second of his interview. But listen, it made sense when you looked at it on paper. Yeah. I mean, seriously, like he had. Look at the receivers. Look at the defense.
Right.
He's
brings
ready.
in Gronk, right?
Yeah, Gronk's going to be there to give him security and comfort and make it fun. Honestly, like Gronk did so
kind of
much.
Balanced. Tom's so serious that Gronk was his other part of his personality.
I mean, it's unbelievable. Not only when you think about Gronk, yes, he's going to make the tough catches. He's clutch as hell. But the blocking, was legendary. I mean, the stuff he did in the running game, which it's hard for a casual fan to understand how impactful that guy is in the running game. But when you look at the catches, the running game, and then you look at that intangible thing of making it fun for Tom.
Yep.
And just making everybody realize it's okay. Like we can laugh. We can and
there's another way to win. There was another way to win.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're going to see. I know you'll be at the event tonight. There's a killer scene with Tom and Ali Marpet, which is a story I had never heard, and I heard it first from Ali, and the crew all kind of looked at each other. Did that really happen? And then we got Tom's side of it, and we got like 15 people's side of it. You're going to see it tonight.
Ali will be there. Yeah,
Ali will be there tonight.
That's
but
sensational.
It's really kind of indicative of the culture, right? So Tom comes in and says, without saying it, because he doesn't have to say that much. You feel it when he walks in the room.
Right.
Like there's a standard that has to be upheld.
Yep.
And if you want to win it all, I can show you how to do it. You just got to follow me. And it requires X, Y, and Z. I've done it many times. It's going to require, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. This will work. Follow me.
Right.
And guys just step up in every possible way. But you know who else steps up? This is great. Darcy Glazer Kaswitz told this story. She goes, everybody steps up when Tom comes in and he believes in drinking, a certain amount of water. It's ounces of water matches your body weight, whatever. Suddenly, everyone in the marketing team, everyone in the business, they're all carrying around the same water tank that Tom carries around. We're all drinking water, and it's not like anybody talked about it. You just step up when if Tom's drinking water, we're going to drink water.
That's right.
And it's just so. But I think the fact that Gronk gave Tom just and everybody just a little bit of permission to have fun.
Yeah.
It's just very necessary. And that third year when he wasn't there, like I often think about that. What if Gronk had been there that third year? How might things have been different?
Gronk and Ryan Jensen, I think those two, were big deals. And obviously Tom was going through a lot of personal things at that time too. But it all kind of, that decision to come back was one that I guess he wrestled with for about 40 days. And I'll always remember him walking off in that tunnel with his mom and dad there to greet him, and you kind of knew, that would be the last time. Of course I've lived most of this either in my private life or my professional life, but I know there's going to be, and I'm going to be disappointed that this happened without my knowledge, but there's going to be story after story. We'll be like, oh, I didn't know that.
So here, I'll let you in on a little secret. So your book's coming out, which I haven't seen. I can't wait to get your book. Because we root for each other, and I appreciate.
In November we're
Yeah.
going to do sort of the print version, but
Yeah.
not obviously we didn't talk to
No.
100 people, but yeah.
No, but I'm excited to see it as a fan. I'm excited to see it as a fan of your writing, and I know I know it's going to be amazing. But I'm also a little nervous. I'm like, if Rick, if that book has uncovered a bunch of stuff that we didn't cover in this doc series, I'm a little freaked out by it. So the other day,
sure you'll be okay.
so the other day you did a podcast talking about the book and maybe promoting it or talking.
Yeah.
I know you've mentioned it a few times, but you might have devoted an entire podcast or most of a podcast to the book. And I'm listening. I'm hanging on every word. Please God, don't be talking about some story that I didn't know about and didn't think to include in this thing. And I think we're okay. At least from your first podcast.
Yeah, not a chance. I didn't give away everything from the book, but I assure you that I would be incredibly surprised if there's anything that you haven't covered in your 100 interviews, something that we did not have that time to do. But man, I just, this is going to be a great evening for those that are able to partake. We can't wait to find out in the future where the general public, the Bucs fans, will be able to view your work when this is completed. There will be further announcements about that, I'm sure, coming down the road. But man, what a project, and what a perfect person to do it. If people don't know, you said you grew up a Bucs fan, right? Was it Lakeland you went to school? Is that right?
Lakeland High School.
Yeah, Lakeland High School. So,
of course, all your work. My first ever Bucs game was their first ever home win when they tore the goalpost down.
Is that right? Wow.
So I'm 7 years old, and
that's crazy.
Sitting in the end zone. It's my first ever game, and my brother's 3 years older than me, and the crowd is chanting something, and I'm like, I couldn't understand what they were saying. What are they saying? So I say to my brother, what are they saying? I said, they're saying, let's go 2 in a row. Let's go 2 in a row. I'm like, what does that mean? He goes, they won last week. It was their first ever win.
It's a win streak, baby.
So they want to win 2 in a row. And then I start screaming, let's go 2 in a row. And then, they awesome. Win the game, and then everyone tears down the goalpost. And I remember standing up like I'm going to go tear down a goalpost. And my stepfather just pushed me back down. Sit down. You're not going anywhere.
You're not going to go tear down that goalpost.
I mean, it was just mayhem. Like it was, they were just trampling people. Yeah, I've been a fan ever since.
I'm telling you, man, folks are just we're going to be very lucky to see this work. And of course, you did such great work, have done such great work through the years. And I'm telling you, this is going to be epic. It's epic. And the project was big. But you were the perfect guy to do it, and I think we're just going to learn more and more with each episode, and eventually, of course, whatever number of part series that it is. Trent, I cannot thank you enough. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow night, and of course, look forward to the release of the movie. I hope that you ran a lot of B-roll, if I'm speaking, and not video, because
we made you look good.
I don't need to be in this movie that much.
We did a lot of color correction.
Thank you. A lot of filtering.
A lot of filtering, extra lighting. We kind of broke the budget on that, on the glam.
Appreciate all the production on that one.
Thank you for having me on, and thank you for supporting all my shenanigans through the years. I appreciate it.
Always. Thanks, Trent.
Thank you, man. Go Bucs.
Okay, we're all looking forward to the movie. Now we're going to tell you where you can find the books. As you know, the Bucs are celebrating 5 decades of football, and the Times has captured every triumphant moment, legendary player, and unforgettable season in a limited edition 176-page hardcover coffee table book. It is pre-ordered, and it's called Fire the Cannons, 50 Years of Tampa Bay Buccaneers Football. And it's if you order now, you can lock in a 25% discount off the $44.95 retail price. The discount is here until October 2nd. Here's where you pre-order: bucks50.pictorialbook.com. That's bucks50.pictorialbook.com. This book's going to feature photography of the Tampa Bay Times, as well as stories from many of your favorite sports writers, like myself. Experience a complete journey from the franchise's birth through the glorious Super Bowl eras. It will be directly shipped to you by November 14th. So that's right. It's a perfect holiday gift. So make sure you order that now. All right. So, well, this was quite the podcast. We hadn't been together for a while, but we gave you everything we had. Looking forward to Trent Cooper. The Bucs will continue their preparations. They are off today. They will be back at work on Wednesday. The Rays continue their series against the Seattle Mariners, see if they can keep that streak alive and get closer, oh so closer to the playoffs. So we'll talk about all of that and more. Get on down to Breitling Boutique. See our friends at International Plaza Mall. That's where you can get the best Swiss watch you've ever wanted, a great timepiece, and check out the NFL watches as well. It's Breitling Boutique, and let them know you heard about it on Sports Day Tampa Bay. For Steve Versnick, I am Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. Have a great day, everybody.